Welcome to the LoreWars preview stream and podcast. My name is Doug Carlson, and with me, as always, is Maddie,
And that's me.
Sean,
Howdy.
and Ricky.
Oh,
As you heard in the beginning of this, I had it in the last episode, but we had our song that was written for the show by Gabe Birkby, who is in the band Ponder the Giraffe, as well as a solo artist that goes by Birkby. I'll have a link for his Spotify or something in the description for this video and in the podcasts. But he does very, very good work. I'm good friends with him, and the song is awesome. I had it played over my intro last episode, but somebody requested that I put it in the beginning of the episode and let it play out, just so everyone can hear it. So that will be happening for this one. Last episode, we took a break from our story, and I chatted with some of the other developers for the game about the universe, the future of the game, and things like that. And so we had a good time just kind of reminiscing of how we started, where we were writing, and kind of where we're headed. And this week we're going to get back into our story with our three adventurers. The last time we left off in the adventure, our heroes fought a bunch of goblins. They were trying to, for one reason or another, find their way into the Wolf Knights, which were a famous group of knights from the country of Eldrex. Each of the heroes got themselves in a heap load of trouble fighting off a giant frog dragon controlled by the goblins. And when things looked a little dire, the wolf captain, or the general of the Wolf Knights, jumped in and helped them. Seeing their bravery and their strength, he proposed for them to join, which is kind of their goal from the start of the show. So they kind of achieved that, and well, sort of. They still have to go through boot camp, and then graduate into knighthood. But that's where we left off. Something also a little bit exciting is that the wolf, or our heroes, have hit level 2, and we can touch on that a little bit with. Let's start with Ricky, since you were last in the intros. Tell me what a level 2 Ram can do.
so he can create a shadowy eyeball and kind of look through it, kind of like Gaara from Naruto does, like a similar thing with sand.
Yeah, very neat. And Sean, what can Oros do at level 2?
Oros gets an ability called Vector Arrow, which is a spell that deals times 3 damage with a range of 5, as opposed to a range of x3 with my normal thing with only a range of 3.
Yeah. And what can Miss Dewdrop do?
Mine is called double lashing, and it's a 3-space attack. That's a casting roll 1 through 10, and it does 2 times my basic damage.
Nice. So yeah, they got, at level 2, they get a little extra utility spells to give them a little diversity between doing their basic attack and these other things. And if I'm not mistaken, all of those are minor actions, so they can be done before your attack.
I believe mine is a major action.
Well, then I stand
if I'm not
corrected.
mistaken.
If
That would be why
if there's a red
I have
M next to
additional
it.
range.
Yeah.
Let me double check the guidebook. I just copied it over.
Yeah, if there's a red M next to it, it'll mean it's a major. If it's a blue M, it's a minor.
Yeah, I was under the impression it was a major. I
Um,
have to look.
but yeah, you also each of you got 100 gold. So make sure that's on your character sheet. And let me dive in here. You were told to go to room 17 by Abraham, the dispatch scribe for the Wolf's Knights, who told you guys to go to room. He showed you room 17. This is going to be a room. There's enough beds for each of you. There was a war tunic that had a blue wolf on it to represent that you are training to be Wolf Knights. There was, I believe, a ring. And the ring it will add a +1 to any action of your choice. Let me make sure. Where are we? Doodaloo-doo.
We each get one of those rings, or is it just one ring?
One ring for everybody. Each of you get one ring.
Okay.
Would we record that in a particular place or just in our inventory?
You could probably put it in your equipment slots at the last page of the.
Okay, so it would just be under extra for the ring.
Yeah. Yep. And then you can choose what action you want to give a bonus to, whether it be strength, and lock picking, intelligence, or whatever, knowledge. I believe it's the action's called. You can add a +1 to any of those of your choice for right now.
You can subtract one as well, right?
Yeah. So yes. So if you got it'd add to the range. So like for strength, it'd be a 1 through 10. So it'd make it a 1 to 11. But if you want
I get what
to,
you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna up my sneak.
I just want to make sure you guys got everything.
Okay, so wait, it was the ring, the gold.
There's a war tunic for each of you, like a pullover to wear over your
Okay.
armor and everything that shows it has a wolf on the emblem, showing you that you're a trainee. And then that's right, and there's a chest with 5 health potions, each equaling 25 HP. And you can divvy those amongst yourselves, but there's 5 in total.
How many hit points do the two of you have?
I'm taking 2.
There you go.
I have 155.
I have 150, so I'll take 1. You can both have 2.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I have more HP
Good,
than you.
because I said I was taking 2 and I meant it.
What?
Potions?
Pretty much, yeah. So he said you can go to bed, and in the morning the training instructor will come get you. So you guys rest for the night. Before I go further here, on my screen, on the stream screen, is a piece of art we have for the, I believe, Seal of Fate adventure book that's going to be coming out close to the release date of the guidebook. This is one of the guard captains that you interact with, but I think it closely resembles the Wolf Knight. And this will be the thumbnail for the video as well as the podcasts. So that's something cool to get a glimpse
Awesome.
of kind of what we're looking at. But yeah, let's dive into it. In the morning, a loud knock wakes up the players, and in comes a large stone soul in bronze armor. He is not wearing a helmet, and you see a crack down his left eye. He yells out, "Attention, recruits! My name is Raven Oldrum. I am your instructor for the next 3 weeks. Get dressed and meet me out in the yard in 5 minutes." This gentleman demands such attention that the characters can't help but reply with a "yes, sir," as if intimidated by the stone soul's very essence. He then exits the room, and the players get their stuff together. About 5 minutes later, they exit the barracks, and in the back towards exit the barracks in the back towards a large yard surrounded by a wooden fence. You see archery targets, wooden training dummies, large peaked walls and pits of mud, as well as a small tented area with some tables and weapon racks. You see Raven standing there in front of you, and he explains that the next 3 weeks you will be training on the obstacles out here, conditioning and learning so you can become better soldiers. At night, you will need to read through the City Law, a book that spells out the laws of Virgin City as well as the entire country of Eldrex. For this first week, you will be conditioning your body. He then instructs the group to run laps around the compound for a few hours. So do each of you, are we in roll 20? Is everyone in roll 20?
I believe
in
so.
roll 20.
You each want to roll me a acrobatics action just to see kind of how you guys do running wise. So he's screaming at you because you're dragging your feet.
Acrobatics.
Yes, I believe it's a 1 through 10. So Ram is the only one who can keep up agility wise.
I am very small. I have tiny legs. Do not yell at me about agility.
You definitely
You guys did both go down last fight, just saying.
Yeah,
I will come to your house and slap you in the face, sir.
Oros makes one lap around the yard and then starts to walk and gets screamed at.
Robot, how do you have bad stamina?
Drew makes it like 3 laps and then she kind of starts cheating using her wings but gets yelled at because she gets caught. And Mr. Ram can easily keep up with the laps.
Yeah, I would say that as I start to walk more slowly, I like look around and then like try to slip. I have like a flask on me somewhere. Just
Right.
kind of sip it and then I'm back to running.
After a few hours of that, you are fed basic rations under the tented area. After breakfast, he instructs you through an obstacle course of running through mud pits and over the peaked wall. You run through this for a couple of hours. So roll me another three acrobatic actions.
Hey.
So
rolling 3 of them?
no, just one each.
Oh.
Yeah. On this one, Oros, definitely you've had a little bit to drink and you're running, so you're nice and limbered up for the obstacle course. Where the other two are kind of slugging through it.
I greased up my elbows a little bit, my
Right.
knees.
After a few hours, he calls the party back to the lunch area under the tent, and you're fed another ration. After lunch, the party is instructed to lift iron weights in different styles to build up specific muscle areas. And so you guys want to roll me strength actions for that?
Hey, I did it!
Yeah, you
Look, I
did.
did it!
Natural
too.
20.
Yeah, Oros grabs a weight and can't even get it off the ground. He's just so drunk by this point.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I'm on flask number 3. It's the
Right.
third period of the day.
The other two are successfully doing what they're instructed by lifting the iron weights in specific ways, like bench pressing and curls. After a few hours of this, the party is called back under the tent and given dinner consisting of local meats and vegetables. After the dinner, they are instructed to go back to their room and read up on the law book.
No.
This routine will continue for a week straight. So every day you guys go through the similar process of running a few laps, eating a ration, going through an obstacle course that he his construction, and each week every day the obstacle course changes a little bit, and then lifting the weights, and then at night you're expected to read through your law book. Can each of you roll me a knowledge action to see how you guys are coming along with your books?
It's a knowledge.
Knowledge, yep.
Fair, I did say I wasn't reading.
As you said, you're over there like drawing. You're drawing on each of the pages, doing little doodles, while the other two are reading pretty constructively. And it's even to the point where they open up a conversation where Ram is like, "So what do you think about the murder law the murder law of like if somebody is breaking into a house, and then Oros is like, yeah, this rule looks pretty good, and then Dewdrop is over there like, yeah, murder's bad. don't like that.
I scribbled in there that it said, or like I'm randomly adding things,
Right.
such as if a man of the law were to catch anyone, they get to take all of that person's booze.
Like, there's nothing you're looking through all the alcohol laws.
This is me, right? Because I get bored 15 minutes into a game of League and go on my phone. So, like, I don't have the focus to read a book of a law.
That's so funny that I could picture you, like, in a 40-minute Conquest game, and they're like, where's the jungler? And she's just sitting in Fountain the whole time. I decided to play.
No, like, I'm doing things, and also I play support. So...
Oh, okay.
But, like, I'll be doing things and I die in the death count. I'm like, how far can I scroll down Twitter in the 5 seconds I have?
Right.
So I'm already over this.
The answer, not quickly enough.
Yeah.
So, Oros, give me a roll real quick.
Boom.
All right, so you...
Man, if we're playing D&D, good lord.
Right.
Um,
Too bad. Yay.
roll me another one. Alrighty. You get a bonus action towards physical strength or physical actions.
Sweet. Good old fashioned +1.
You also get another point into your speed.
I'm already pretty nippy, so I have 11 speed.
These are the conditioning bonuses you've gotten for the first week. Ram, give me 2 rolls. Roll after me right there. And one more. And then one more. Okay, so you beat me 2 other times. You also get a +1 to physical and +1 to speed. And then Ms. Dewdrop, same for you.
1d20 or 2, sorry?
1, you're battling me, so best 2 out of 3.
Okay.
Yeah. And one more. Alright, you did not beat me, so you instead get a +1 to acrobatics.
Cool.
And 10 extra HP. And that is the conditioning you gained through the first week of training.
Sick.
Come on, PDF. Scroll faster. Thank you. You each get 25 XP for the first week of training.
Our XP like reset when we leveled to 2, right?
I think it's just the numbers and the level.
It just keeps just adding up. It
so it'd be
okay.
225 now?
Yeah, it should be 225, correct.
Okay.
Sweet.
Where's XP?
Up top under your HP on the right.
At the end of the second week, wow, that I read that wrong. At the start of the second week, they are again greeted by Raven, like every morning the past week. Except this week, he instructs each of you to grab a bow and a quiver full of arrows under the tented area. The party is then instructed to line up across the archery targets and take shots. He lets each of you shoot 10 arrows or so, and instructs you on how to improve, and then you repeat. This goes on for a few hours until the party is instructed to go back under the tent again for breakfast. Each of you roll me a strength action to see how well you're handling these bows.
You're
killing it.
Damn.
Killing it.
I'm really good with a bow. I don't like running.
You get like...
Just physical, right?
Yeah. You're hitting the target every time.
Oh.
I can't help but imagine that there's... I'm getting the image of me and Ram just like normal sized bows, and then someone that's 2 foot tall with a 3 foot tall bow.
Yeah, she has a normal sized bow, but she's tiny. Like, she has a long bow, but like it's real hard.
It looks pretty good on that though.
Yeah. It's like that like lopsided like Chinese. I can't even remember what it's called.
Yeah. Each of you
whatever,
you
yeah.
do very well on the archery. You each are hitting the target every time.
We're all wizards. What do you expect?
Um, where am I? Oh, so breakfast consists of fresh milk and eggs this time, which is very different from the last week where you're just eating rations, which are like oat bars, pretty much.
Sweet.
The party is then instructed to grab a sword from the racks. Raven
Shit.
walks the party over to the training dummies and demonstrates a specific sword technique. The party mimics. This goes on for a few hours until the party is called in for lunch. So roll me another strength test to see how you guys do against the swordsmanship.
Hey.
Ricky, you get blisters.
Oof.
Maddie, you drop the sword and cannot pick it up. You keep fumbling with the sword.
I would like to point
Well,
out
to be fair,
again,
the sword's
the
still
sword
there.
is probably bigger than me, as
Oh,
I am
much
only
bigger.
3 feet tall. Shut up! I'm only 3 feet tall.
Yeah, the sword weighs like twice as much as you do.
You're like dragging it across the grass.
Give her like a steak knife. It'll be
Right?
the equivalent.
Nah. She just needs she needs needle or like
A sewing needle.
sting.
Yeah,
Give her sting. It'll be great.
there you go. They eat rations for lunch, which is nothing new compared to the last week. And they give you a canteen full of water, which is new. The party is then instructed to grab a tome from a trunk under the tent and goes out to where there are metal plates stuck in the ground on poles. Raven shoots a fireball at one of the plates, and he instructs the soldiers that they must be well versed in magics as well as combat skills. The tome provides a basic fireball instruction. The players are to read it and attempt to cast it. This goes on for a few hours. Everyone give me an Arcana check.
Oh,
There you
Fuck yeah.
Killing it.
mother.
You're
Mother freaker.
You're exhausted from using the sword, so you end up just like singeing your hair off with the fire spell.
You just explode yourself.
Yeah.
She's also really good with her own particular brand of magic, and that's
Right.
about it.
You learned fireball.
Also, Papa
and-
Merlin told me to watch the language, so we're being PG-13. I can only say the F word once, and it has to be good. So
Yeah, you gotta. We were just cutting it down a little bit. You can still say fuck. That's fine. Just a little.
no, Doug, you took it. You took
God
it. It's
damn
a
it.
PG-13 movie. I gotta say it once, and it has to be good.
All right,
No,
I'll
it's one
censor.
per player.
Okay.
Yeah. Once
There you go.
everyone can make one cuss per episode. There you go. This goes on for a few hours until you're called in for dinner, where you eat local meats and vegetables. After dinner, you are instructed to go back to your rooms and study more of the laws. This goes on every day for a week. And you guys continue your law studies as you were before, where Maddie is like half times, or Dewdrop is half the speed as you guys. But you guys like to keep it at a general discussion. Also, throughout this time, you guys like you might do like a truth or dare night, or like a
What do you like? Oh my god.
never have I ever type things, and you guys are bonding quite a bit.
Never have I ever not been drunk.
Maddie doesn't have Dewdrop doesn't have a whole lot to say because she doesn't remember a lot of her life. Yeah, it's actually quite
I
awkward.
woke up on a sandy beach. Sorry, hold on. I woke up on a sandy beach. There was a gash in my head, and I had no memories. And all I could remember was the word fuck.
There it was. That was your one.
That was it.
That was your one.
That's my one. And it was a good one.
It was beautiful.
Well, your vocabulary has expanded a lot.
Oros, actually, Oros doesn't have a lot to say either, because his...
I went, I fought, my buddies died, I said fuck it, and came here.
Well, there's your one. And The same with Ricky's character. He doesn't have a whole lot to say just because he has like a secretive assassin clan, so he wouldn't share a whole lot either. So like, you guys are playing Never Have I Ever, but it's really stupid because none of you are really talking about your past.
We're mostly just standing there with our hands up in the air for no reason.
Right? It's like real stupid stuff. Like, never have I ever eaten grass, and Maddie puts up a finger, and they both look at her like, really? Really?
I'm a Cersei. I can eat about anything.
Right? She's like, have you ever tried grass? It's delightful. Love it.
Or have I
She's
ever
a
been
delight.
So yeah, and then at the end of the second week, we can roll the same thing, do a roll off. So Maddie, if you want to do 3 rolls with me.
Okay.
You beat me 2 out of the times. So you get a plus or a ×1 multiplier to any physical damage.
That.
An additional
It's the
one.
same.
Yeah,
No,
no additional.
An additional +1.
Yeah,
Oh.
So it'll be
okay.
X2 for
normal
at base
damage.
instead of-
Yeah. Sean, you want to roll off with me?
threat.
There
2
you
out
go.
of 3.
You also get a ×1 bonus to physical damage. And Ricky? Ricky, however, you get a ×1 to magic damage.
Cry.
Oh,
And
where the hell do I do that?
you can put it in notes or down in like spells and weapons might be a good area to put it. Or
Okay, so do I have now a ×2 for magic, or is it just
×1 additional. So like if it's normal damage, which would be a ×1, it goes up to ×2. If it's ×2, it goes up to a ×3.
alright?
Etc.
Yeah.
I'll put that there.
And then each of you get another 25 experience for completing the second week of training.
I just got that magic thing, right? That was the only thing.
And for that, like, it's funny because Oros, you pretty much did really well on all the skill checks for that week. So like, you already know magic, so like you were learning. Oh, this is how I use a sword. Oh, this is how I use a bow.
Swords are fucking dope.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then Maddie, you were struggling so hard with the sword that like you had to learn your own style of how to wield. That's why your physical damage increased rather than magical.
Yes. Good.
Good. Rather than
You only get to hit people in the ankles.
that's her style. It's ankle.
Hitting you in the ankles might just take out your Achilles heel, and
There
I'd
you
like
go.
to see you fight without that.
At the start of the third week, Raven meets you outside once again, like he has every day for the last 2 weeks. However, this time he instructs you to follow him. He leads you down a hallway to an unmarked door. He knocks.
It's the sex dungeon.
No, it is not. He knocks. The group is then greeted by.
What about your boss music?
Bum, 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 bum. The group is greeted by a demonkin in a black robe and a golden wolf on their cloak. And she asks Raven, "Are these the new recruits?" And Raven replies, "Yes, ma'am." She ushers the players into a dark lit room with cots around a smoldering fire pit. There are floating crystals and large beakers of blue liquid on the desks and bookshelves around the room. She instructs each of the members to take off their shirts and armor and lay on the cots face down. It is a sex dungeon. No.
Shit.
As the players do so, Raven explains, "This is Madame Ghostfang. She is
The dungeon master.
She is a no. I'm the dungeon master. She is a she is a specialist in the Wolf Brigade, who helps our soldiers get a specific weapon against the enemies. She goes over to each player, or she goes over to which player has the highest bravery? I believe it's Sean.
Yeah, like 18.
My bravery's in I
She
have 10 bravery.
she goes over to Oros first and puts a beaker of blue liquid on the floor next to your head. Hold on, let me scroll.
Is that booze?
She
I'm
says,
almost out.
she says, no, you won't want to drink that.
Do it anyway.
There's not a lot of things I don't want to drink.
Hold on, my PDF is very slow on reading right now. There we go. She then lays out a series of needles and a scroll. Raven continues to explain. She will give you a tattoo specially crafted with a spell to call on a projection of the Vandor Hunt. Vandor Hunt is an astral spirit that belongs to the general, and with his help, we soldiers can call on that power as a last resort. The Demon King starts to place a beaker next to the other players' heads, as well as a set of needles and a scroll. She then casts a spell, and from the shadows emerges clones of herself, one for each of the players. The clones each kneel next to the players' heads and start chanting a spell that lifts the words from the scroll onto the backs of the players. The Demonkin and her clones then grab needles and dip them into the blue liquid and start puncturing the top layers of skin, or etching a image into those without skin, such as Oros.
I was about to say.
After the process starts, Raven takes his leave, and Madame Ghostfang continues her work. You guys can have if anyone's interested, you guys can talk to Madame Ghostfang before I continue. I don't know if any of you want to just take your tattoo in silence, or if you want to chat with her. It's up to you.
I make
Nice weather we're
extremely
having.
prolonged and awkward eye contact and leave.
The whole time just staring at her.
The entire time, Oros is probably just talking about something, but his voice is like vibrating because there's basically, yeah.
Good.
This is weird.
What'd you say, Ricky?
Did they use some like kind of metal blowtorch tattoo into him?
Yeah, she's using instead of just using the needle, she's hitting it with a hammer to really etch it in.
Like some kind of chisel of some sort?
Yeah.
Thunk, thunk, thunk.
This tattoo do exactly? What should I writing down? See?
You'll learn in a minute. All you know that it's a connection to the general, and is also a connection to an astral spirit. During the tattoo process, the players can feel slight burning sensations once in a while, as the demon can send a small bolt of electricity to them. She says it's in order to stimulate the tattoo with magic, so it connects to your mana circuits. About half of the day goes by, and she's finally done with the tattoos. She then brings over a bowl of water, and she places a blue and green etched rune stone into the water and casts a spell on it. As she does, the water lifts out of the bowl into a ball formation and floats over the tattoo. The players feel pain disappearing from their back. After a few moments of this, the water goes back into the bowls. She then dresses the tattoos with cloth, and the clones disappear back into the shadows. She says that she must get some rest and regain her arcana. She instructs you to go down to the mess hall and get a full meal in, and then go to your rooms and rest. The tattoos will drain your body for the day. The party does as instructed, finding the large mess hole on the first floor of the building, littered with a few wolf guards keeping to themselves, and a steam mech girl comes over and says, "Well, hello, I am Avera. I am the barmaid for the barracks. You are the new recruits who just got their wolf crests, correct?"
Yes.
Yep, that'd be me.
As charged.
Let me go get you some food and drinks. And she walks away for about 10 minutes, returning with a large rack of ribs with some steamed potatoes and a large barrel of wine that instantly, before it even gets to the table, Oros is drinking out of.
Yeah, I was about to say, like,
I am going to
oh,
ban
look,
that wine
three-
after today. Get away from
I was
it.
about to say, yeah, Oros is just like, oh look, 3 different items for 3 different people, and just grabs the barrel and walks away.
I guess I'm taking the potatoes because I don't eat meat.
Get all the meat. Yes.
It's like a comically large rack of ribs, like Flintstone style, where it's bigger than you.
It's a signal like I'm a shadowy being. It's like I'm just going into a void. You don't even see it like being eaten. It's just kind of like being thrown into a void.
After eating and drinking, the players return to their rooms to get rest. The next morning, you are woken up by a loud knock on the door, and once again, oh, lost my page. Go back up. You're once again greeted by Raven. Now I can go down. My PDF reader is so slow today. Raven asks how the party feels, looking mostly at Dewdrop.
Good.
Good. She doesn't.
Yeah.
She's exhausted and doesn't.
Every single
there
one
we
of
go.
my muscles is on fire, and if you ask me that again, I'm gonna stick that sword I just learned how to use where the sun doesn't shine.
She.
I lean over. I lean over and conspiratorially whisper, "Your ankles."
He gives a chuckle and says, "Don't worry, only one more week," and leads you guys back out to the courtyard. The party gets ready and meets out with him, and he brings you over to a large clear spot in the training grounds and starts to talk to them. He says, each of you have been given the crest of the wolf, and now you must learn how to use it. He talks that there are 3 variations that we can use as branches of power that the general has. First is Wolf Hide. He says, Wolf Hide is a spell that cloaks your body in astral energy, bolstering your defenses. He points at Oros, and he says, "Go grab a sword from the rack of swords under the tent." Oros.
Sorry, what?
He tells you to go grab a sword from the tent.
I proceed to do so.
He yells out, "Wolfhide!" and a blue magic wolf's mouth comes out of his back and wraps his jaws around his entire body as magic forms around his entire body, coating him in a blue silhouette of magic. He then instructs Oros, "Go ahead and attack me."
I looked at like, "I'm pretty good at using this. Are you sure?"
He chuckles and waves you on.
I whack him.
Roll a 20-sided die for me.
Kill him.
Your sword
Casual
completely shatters on the magic silhouette around him. You look surprised and gently set down the sword. Raven allows the aura to recede into him. He says the next aspect of Wolf Hunt is Wolf Hunt. He points his palm away from the party and calls out Wolf Hunt. A blue energy bursts from his hands and forms into a wolf, manifesting and running forward before exploding into a blue energy. He then looks back at the party and says, the third aspect is wolf blood. He picks up the sword that was shattered on the ground and calls off wolf blood, and blue energy wraps the blade around the blade and fills in the missing spot that you already broke. He swings it away from he swings the sword away from the party, and blue energy swings off of it, like breaking into the earth in different directions that he swung. He then tosses the sword aside, and he goes and grabs a few wooden clubs, and he starts talking to the party. First, we will be learning Wolfhide. Wolfhide is pushing the arcana through the tattoo, and then quickly pushing that arcana through your body. It should cloak you in the astral magic. The players start to attempt to do this as he's instructed. Sometimes nothing happens, sometimes it explodes, and sometimes you get a cloak, and Raven will come along and smack you with a wooden club, which sometimes hurts and sometimes is blocked by the cloak. After a few hours of this, they are called over for breakfast. Each of you roll me an Arcana check to see how you're doing on your wolf hide.
Roll Arcana.
Fuck yeah.
You each do pretty good with it. You have a little bit more trouble than the other two, but you're getting it. The breakfast consists of fresh eggs and fruits. After breakfast, they are brought back out to the training ground, where Raven starts explaining. Wolf Hunt is pulling the arcana through your circuits in your legs, through the crest into your palm, projecting it out. The players attempt this spell. Sometimes nothing happens, sometimes an explosion comes off your hand, and sometimes you shoot a magic bolt. And very rarely, that magic bolt turns into a weak wolf that explodes at the impact. After a few hours of this, you go back to the tent for lunch. Roll me another Arcana check, each of you, and see how you do with this attack. Maddie, give me a roll. Maddie, it just keeps exploding on you.
What?
It just keeps exploding on your hand. Your hand is very raw from.
Wait. You rolled a D100 though.
Oh shit!
Oh,
So that's
oops.
Yeah.
Oops, hold on.
There you go. That's much better.
Okay, well, hold up.
That was a very bad misclick.
Uh,
I was about to go jump off my roof.
Lunch consists of a stew made with barley and celery. After lunch, they go back into the training, where Raven tells them lastly is wolf blood. He states to perform this spell, you'll simply have to circulate the arcana from the crest to your arm, around your weapon, and back to your crest. Hold on. Scroll. Where? There we go. He then lays. Oh, wrong one. I jumped 2 pages up. Why is my PDF reader so slow today? The players attempt this. Some break the clubs, others hurt their hands, and sometimes nothing happens. And some coat their weapons in the magic like instructed. Each of you roll me one more Arcana check. Each of you are very good at this skill, actually. You each are more successful than most in wrapping your weapon in the energy. You will continue to do this, and then...
I'm sorry. Before you go on, Dew is so happy that she's not in physical pain, she literally jumps up on the table and screams, "Finally!"
The first time you do it, you wrap your club in the blue energy and you jump up with like your sword held high in such a like heroic stance, like, yes, I did it. You then go back to your rooms and study the laws, just as you have for the past 2 weeks. This routine will go on for another 5 days, and you guys continue doing this every day. Sean, roll me a 20-sided die, please, sir.
boom.
That is a 4.
Yup.
You excel in Wolfhide, so you've learned that ability. 1 through 10
Sweet.
is a casting roll. So you're going to want to put this in spells and weapons in the lower right, I believe, of the first page. So Wolfhide, 1 through 10 casting roll. You get a temporary 30 defense for 2 turns, and it is a minor action.
Sick.
Miss Dewdrop, roll me a 20-sided die. You learn the same one. Though you were successful in the wolf blood the first day, you really hone in on that skill the rest of the week. So that is a 1 through 10 casting roll. Temporary 30 defense for 2 turns. Minor action.
You said 1 through 13, or did I hear that wrong?
1 through 10 casting roll. Temporary 30 defense for 2 turns.
30 defense. Alright.
And then Ricky, give me a roll. You, however, excel in Wolf Hunt. 1 through 10 is a casting roll. A range of 4 spaces. And it deals 20 damage.
Damn.
I'm sorry, 30. Did I say 30 or did I say 20?
You said 20.
It's 30.
Even more down.
You also get what?
Fun.
What wolf hunt? 1 to 10 casting roll, 4 space range, 30 damage. Each player also gets 50 experience for completing their training.
Level 3 now?
Level 3 is 400.
Okay.
You should be like 290, I think, something like that.
It was 25, 25, and 50, so
Oh.
3.
Yeah, it should be 300. On the start of the 4th week, Raven knocks on the door and talks to the party, telling them that they have a day to rest and that the following day there will be a written exam about the laws. After that, you will be given your quest. If you complete your quest, you will graduate into full wolf guards. Once the day of rest goes by, the players go to an assigned room. So let's talk about what do you guys do on your day of rest? Sean, what are you doing?
Probably just being like, I know all these laws. Look, I get booze every time anything happens in this city.
So yeah, you're just kind of going over the laws again.
Yeah.
Ram, what are you doing for your day off?
I think I want to train with the wolf hunt ability. You know,
Yeah.
kind of get that down pat. Like, have that be a good move I can use.
Sure. And then Miss Dewdrop, what are you doing on your day off?
I'm gonna lay in bed and look at the ceiling.
There you go.
And maybe try another crack at that law book, because there's a written exam that I definitely am not gonna pass.
There's just doodles on every page by this point. Once the day goes by of rest, you go to an assigned room where a steam-mech in a white cloak with a blue wolf emblem on it hands them each a piece of paper and a pen and ink. On the paper is written a series of questions. He states that you have to fill out these questions that are all about the law, and they're all like hypotheticals. Like, if this happened on this day with this, and this, what would a wolf knight be able to do, or something like that.
Booze, apparently.
Everything is somehow written back to alcohol with Oros's paper.
Yeah, go drink. Like, do the thing, then drink.
So yeah, Sean, give me a knowledge action. Try one. Try again. Is that it?
No. My knowledge is 1 to 7.
All right, give me one more action. I'm pretty sure it's a 1 to 10. I think you have the old character sheets.
Do I?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be why. In that case, 8 was good.
I think we changed it and then changed it back. But yeah, I believe you're good. So
Okay.
you get
I'll need to update my character sheet.
you get like an 80% success on that. Sean, Ms. Dewdrop, roll me a knowledge check.
It's a 1 through 10, right? You said.
Yep.
Okay.
You get an A for somehow not
Yay.
studying one bit. You get 100% on all of the questions. You're like, wow, this is a lot of this is common sense.
He's probably.
Murder someone. What do you
No,
do?
yeah, she was like, every time she was reading something, if she said it out loud, I'm like, oh yeah, you do this, and then boom. And then she just ignores the booze part.
Ram, go ahead and give me a knowledge check. Yeah, you also get a perfect score on it.
I paid attention without the booze.
After the test, the party's instructed to go get their
I'm gonna
quest.
tell myself I just realized I rolled a D10 and not a D20.
Eesh, roll a d20. Can't let that get away.
Damn it, Maddie.
You got the
Oh,
same
come
thing!
on.
I did it again! I did it anyway!
Oh,
It's
gosh.
fantastic.
Oh man.
After
What the fuck are the odds?
right, after this test, the party's instructed after they're graded, and he says, "Congratulations, each of you have passed the test. Go to the dispatch scribe Abraham, and he will give you your quest."
Ram got all the extra questions too.
Oh.
Ram got 110.
Oh.
I saw the back, right?
Yeah. He
He just noticed there was a second page.
you guys got the second half of the question. No, okay, just me. You guys go out and you meet Abraham where you've seen him every day prior, and he's like, "Congratulations on passing the test and going through the 3 weeks of training." He then hands you a scroll. He says, "This is just a lead that has been reported. You are to do some investigating and resolve this quest. If it turns out to be too difficult or too dangerous, then come back here and report for backup. But if you complete this quest successfully, you will all be knighted and graduate into full-blown Wolf Knights. You can now read through the details of the mission. It explains that a man went missing recently, and his name is Graham Sartik. And the players immediately recognize this name as Mr. Sartik, the man who lost his daughter that you guys rescued from the goblins. And unfortunately, she met her death.
Failed to rescue from the goblins.
Correct. But it is her father who originally was in the pub almost a month ago.
I hardcore am muttering under my breath like, "Oh great, let's kill this dude too." I'm definitely not saying that out loud, but
I hear that and I elbow him and just like get him to shut up.
it's like, what? Come on.
That? Come on.
And Abraham says the lead at the bottom says that the best place to check would be the Church of the Undying Court, and go talk to a priest, since they're the one that put on the funeral and probably is from what the paper says is the last one that saw Mr. Sartik. And that is where we're going to leave our episode off.
Sweet.
Yes. I do want to chat. We have a few minutes here. But Miss Maddie, thank you for joining us. Go ahead and tell us where to find your stuffy stuff.
You can find me on Instagram at Celestial Spell Cosplaying. And I will be opening my Twitter, but not this week. Sorry.
Yeah, so I've had some questions last week and this week as well about how to support the show and the game.
Cost money.
A lot of people, I had a few people ask me about like a Patreon or a Kickstarter, and I'm not planning on launching that until we get a bigger following. I kind of get myself as like if we can get in the triple digits for followers, might launch one of those. But at the same time, like, the game will be launching in the summer, and so like that's the best way to give us money instead of paying me $5 every month. Just buy the game. Other than that, the best thing to do is to follow us on something, because like the way algorithms work for YouTube and podcast sites is through followers and comments and ratings. So however you subscribe or follow, however you're listening or watching, and leave a review or a comment or something. That's how the algorithm helps to get us out there farther. But yeah, I did. So like last week, I talked a little bit with the developers about the game, which we've been playing it for 5 years and working on it together for 5 years. So I'm more curious on the opinions of my brand new players. So whether it's good or bad, Sean, I'm going to start with you. Just give me some kind of insight on your experience with LoreWars, or like your impressions so far, something you don't like, something you like, anything. Just give me something with it.
I think overall, it's really interesting. I like how effectively you're just rolling a d20. You don't have to mess around with, like, I've DM'd 5th edition for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
So messing around with, like, if you have new players, having them come in and be like, please give me a d8, and they pick up like a 12 or a 6, and I'm like, nope, not that one, the other one. It's like, here, take this one die and roll that.
Right.
Is pretty cool. I also like the racial-based class stuff. It makes sense that not every race is going to be good at the same things.
Yeah.
And it goes away from so in in 3.5 and earlier editions of D&D, things like dwarves couldn't be wizards and stuff like that because they have an aversion to magic and all that fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it takes that kind of idea in which certain races are good at certain things, but doesn't say no, you can't. Which is interesting.
Yeah, so to touch on that, a lot of what I tried to do when I came to each race was create a class for, each playstyle. Like, I tried to make a ranged class, a fighter class, and like a magic or a utility class. Though a lot of them are very unique and stuff like that, and some races don't necessarily meet those qualifications. It was a thing on my mind when creating them, is like I want to make sure there's a variety and like the classic tropes, but done differently.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I'm glad you like that part. Mr. Ricky, give me some of your impressions.
So, not to be a cop out, but I do really, really enjoy the variety of races and stuff like that. And I do like the idea of having, a class for each race and stuff like that, and different benefits for each race. And I remember when I was first looking at it, it's like, oh man, there's so much to explore. There's a good diversity, which was thoroughly enjoyable. I like how, as typical D&D players, we think 20 good. So rolling that dice and seeing a 20 throws me off sometimes, because sometimes I'm like, I have to remind myself, like, oh, that's not the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
Hi. I'm sorry to interrupt. But for anyone who knows what a diabetic is, my blood sugar's low, so I have to get on that. So I'm going to go early, and I apologize.
You're fine. Go deal with that.
Don't die.
As for what I like, I love my DM. He's
Aw,
great.
thanks.
He's such a good guy.
Aww.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for your understanding. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Don't die.
Because I just like the variety there is with rolling a dice, because you don't have to just completely like, oh, I want high numbers, or I want high numbers. Like, oh, it's like, oh man, I want a low number for this one, but I want a high number for this one.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because I know people are like, superstitious with like dice. Like, oh man, just want to keep rolling low numbers. It's like, hey, but that might be a good thing out with that dice.
Yeah. It was definitely something, like, when I first started writing the game, everything was just thrown off. Like, weapons and everything were all over the place, and I had some complaints about that. So I went back and rewrote, so damage, when you roll damage numbers, the higher the better, and then in actions is the lower the better. That way there's like a clean split, like, okay, if I'm doing an action or performing like a spell casting, generally 1 to 10 is where I want to be, and if I'm rolling for damage, the higher the better. And so like that way you still get that gratification of like when you're attacking somebody, yes, I rolled a 20, that's a lot of damage, and then instead of like almost like, it's kind of like how much effort or force you're putting into something like lock picking. You're going to want it to be very dainty and very particular with, so you'd want like the lower numbers to kind of like reflect the effect and the amount of effort and the amount of like force you're putting into something, where wielding a sword is obviously like you want to hit that fucker as hard as possible, so a 20 reflects how hard you're hitting somebody, But yeah, in the very beginning, numbers were wonky, and I had a talk with some people I was playing with in college. It was like 2 of our RAs were playing constantly with us, and we had a huge chat about that kind of stuff. So I went back and rewrote how it is now, but I was very adamant and just I wanted to be different rolling system, because you can make a different universe, but in the end, it's just going to be a copy paste of normal ones. So I really wanted that to change.
Right. Out of curiosity, really quick,
Sure.
what did you guys like? How much? How did you go about balancing classes and stuff? Because I mean, just scrolling through, even just the Steam X stuff, really quick.
Yeah.
Like there isn't an even number of major, minor actions, that kind of thing.
No.
And I'm just curious.
Yeah, absolutely. So, balancing has always been like a struggle for us. If you listen to the last episode, we talk about a lot of that process. One of the developers, who is also named Sean, played he is the definition of a min-maxer. He will exploit every nuance to build the most absurd characters every time we ever played. And so he was a big to do of how I got to. I was like, well, this is why rules got written.
Right.
And then further down the line, we had a roommate named Jake who would he liked to do this thing with damage that was kind of sneaky, where he would add multiplier, or he would multiply the damage and then multiply that towards the next multiplier if it was a bonus. So for instance, if your base weapon got a ×2 multiplier and you rolled a 25, so he would do that times 25 times 2 is 50. And then he got a bonus ×3, so then he would do 50 times 3, which is 150 damage. Comparatively, right. Which we had to go back and rewrite, because in the low numbers, it doesn't seem like there's a difference. If you do 1 times 2 is 2, and then 2 times 2 is 4, compared to 1 times 4 is 4. You know what I mean?
Right. If you're rolling like a 5, you're doing 20 damage. At 20, you're doing 80 damage.
In the low numbers, it doesn't seem like it's this different, but once you get higher, it definitely is a difference. Like I just said, 25 times 2 is 50, 50 times 3 is 150, but 25 times 5 is 125. So that's 25 extra damage he was building up. And so when we get in those high numbers, so that was quickly a balancing rule I had to throw in there. It's like, no. Add all your multipliers first, then multiply your damage. And then, things like that were a big key in balancing. Also, when I came across this, I was like you said, I don't have a formal structure for how I wrote the character levels. I wanted to make sure there were, stat bonuses, which I felt reflected how the class was supposed to be played. So like bonuses to physical or arcana or knowledge. But so I wanted to make sure those are scattered throughout there, and that can range anywhere from like 2 to 5 bonuses throughout your 1 to 20 leveling. But I also wanted these really cool abilities that were unique to each class that you worked for, that you looked forward to when you looked through your classes, like and I tried to put those around like level 10, level 15, and level 20 as like milestones for your leveling. Other than that, it was very informal. I just kind of did what I thought would be fun and would be viable. For more the balancing question, when I was sitting down actually pretty recently, I say recently as in like the last year of writing.
Right.
Pretty recently, I found I kind of stumbled on my own staple of balancing that was like, a race can't do over, or a major action shouldn't ever really be over 200 damage. And that was kind of a baseline for me of like, between level 1 and 20, the best you should be able to do in one attack is around 200 damage. And that would be a ×10 multiplier and a perfect 20 roll.
Right.
And so that was kind of like a baseline for me of like, I shouldn't do anything more powerful than this. And so I took that baseline and I scaled it to like, maybe 1 through 10, you shouldn't really be able to do over 100 damage. And then 11 to 20, you shouldn't really. And obviously there's exceptions, and like I said, there's ways to mid-max and stuff like that. But that was a guide for me to kind of make sure that was in place, and then the enemy should reflect that.
Cool.
But yeah, balancing is always an issue. And what I did mention in the last episode, and what I'll mention again here, is about a year after is my timeline. After the guidebook releases, I will hopefully, again, if we stay on track, be releasing Guidebook Plus, which will be an addition to the guidebook with more playable races. I have, I think, 4 planned already. And more vanilla weapons, vanilla gear, more spells, more minions, more of the timeline of the universe, and then most importantly, any additions or fixes to rules. Like something we're bouncing around right now is the vision system right now is based off of low, medium, and high. And we were thinking, what if we take that and actually put a specific number? Like low is you can see up to 5 spaces, 10 is see up to, and so that's something
Right.
we're kind of hashing out if we like that idea or not. And so that might be in Guidebook Plus. But yeah, we're gonna let it go for a year and see, and keep playing like we are right now. And when I see something pop up, I'm like, oh, maybe we want to touch on this and put that in a note for my Guidebook Plus folder.
Cool.
I mean, kind of piggybacking off of this discussion, the only kind of like criticism I would have that I've seen so far, and again, this could just be my inexperience of only playing this a few sessions, would be kind of the balancing things. Like when I was originally going through some of the races, it seemed like oh, this class gets like this cool ability at this level, but only this class gets like just kind of like maybe a small buff or something like that.
Yeah.
So a little off, but again, I haven't played it before. I didn't really know how the combat worked. So maybe going back through that, I might understand. Okay, this is why they did that. The other weird thing that I kind of like look at, and I'm like, I wonder how this might be able to improve on is the speed.
Yeah.
Is because I just feel like I rolled like really low, so I was like, I don't know how people are gonna do combat if they roll like they got like a 1 to speed or something like that.
Yeah. So there we will touch on that, and you guys haven't experienced it yet, but you will soon. There is a hub world mechanic that allows you to train on specific attributes, and so you could train up your speed or train up damage and stuff like that, or learn a new spell. There is a lot of room for, like, you can go to a spell shop and learn a spell even if it's not in your level up tree, and or you can train and get faster and stuff like that. There is room for improvement even after character creation that isn't completely scripted via leveling tree.
Cool.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah. We haven't experienced it yet, but you guys do have one coming up pretty shortly.
Sweet.
Alrighty, guys.
I gotta head out.
Alrighty.
So,
have a good one, guys.
Yeah, you too.
yeah.
I'll finish
good
up
night.
here by saying, yeah, go ahead. You can leave. Yeah, if you guys want to follow us, we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, and then we go to the podcast sites such as Anchor, iTunes, and Spotify. And if you want to catch us at our website, that's put on our Twitter account. Our Twitter account is @LoreWarsRPG. Other than that, we'll see you guys next week.